Hi everyone! I am so glad to see you clicked on my video. Today I had plans on creating a fancy or two fancy little illustrations and using some of my favorite art supplies. As I was swatching the stuff that I wanted to use, I encountered a problem. Now the problem might not be very obvious to you, but see, this is the ink that I wanted to use today. And you might be confused as to what's wrong with this ink. Well, it is a pretty turquoise, but the thing is, it's not supposed to be a turquoise. It's supposed to be a pretty cute and bright apple green, not turquoise. I do have a turquoise, and this looks pretty similar, but that's not the color I used. And I feel like this is the whole issue of brown ink turning purple all over again. So instead, I think this is going to be a ranting video, and I much prefer focusing on all the good and happy stuff. But this can't be. These inks are too expensive to be changing color. And I feel like this is necessary to state, just because people kept bringing it up on my brown ink debacle. All of my inks are stored in these little boxes. So this is the ink, and I always keep it in these cute little boxes, and then I put them in a drawer where it's dry, where it's not too cold, it's not too warm, it's a decent room temperature, and I never ever dip my paintbrush straight into the pot of ink. Every single time I use one of these inks, I use a little pipette, grab a drop or two, and drop it into my paint palette. And I never ever use the ink that I've used and put it back into the little ink pot. Admittedly, some of my Winsor & Newton ink is really old. Like, some of it is from 2018. Others, like this apple green, is like at most 2 years old. This should not be happening. You can even see it in the little ink pot, how this is very clearly not an apple green, but a very turquoisey color. I mean, you can still kind of see some hints of what it used to be. And yes, I did shake up the ink. As you can see, there's nothing stuck to the bottom of it. That's why it's like a little fizzy, because I just shook it up a good. I am actually so angry and so disappointed. Is it the most art supply I've ever owned? No, but it is still kind of pricey, and I really don't think art supplies should be changing color like this, especially if they're well taken care of. Now, I don't own every single color that they offer of these inks, but I own quite a few of them, and today I will be swatching all of them, see which ones are still accurate to what they should be, and which ones have changed the color. And perhaps I will create a little color reference chart, so in case you want to buy these inks to, you know which colors to avoid. Because I have high hopes that not every single one of these colors has changed, but also just the fact that there's definitely 2 of them that have changed color by now is very disappointing. Right now, I am just very angry. Okay, I know I have a terrible handwriting, but I try to keep it as legible as possible. I will try my best to swatch them in rainbow order, although I do think I mixed up the purples, but here we go. So first we're gonna start off with this deep red. Okay, so far so good. This one still looks like a nice deep red. I remember one of the biggest issues I had with these inks is they're really hard to open sometimes, but I don't want to bore you, so I'm just gonna skip me opening and pipetting these parts, and I'll just try to jump to actually swatching them on paper each time. Okay, this is really good to see. The red is still a beautiful red, just like the day I bought it. Okay, so next we're going for this orange, and it still looks good. Oh, it's a little dirty, but it still looks like a proper nice orange. Okay, the orange also gets my approval. It looks exactly like how I remember it. Next, we have this canary yellow, and it's yellow. Oh. It's kind of spotty. Kind of looks like mayonnaise that's gone off, but also there's a lot less ink in here than the others, and I don't think I've used yellow that much. Let's give this a good shake and hope that'll turn out better. Okay, so I've been shaking it up for a few minutes, and aside from all the foam, the non-foamy parts are still kind of gross looking. So the color itself still looks fine. At least while it's wet, I don't really see any dots in there, but it is incredibly watered down, and I promise you my brush was completely dry when I dipped it into the ink, so it should not be this watered down. Then on to the next row, we're gonna swatch this beautiful apple green that I've already ranted about. On this little picture, this is what the green is supposed to look like. That is what this green used to look like, but now it's very much just a turquoise. Oh yes, look at this beautiful, delicious apple green. Doesn't this color just make you hungry to bite into a nice fresh apple? It's a beautiful turquoise, but this is the color that the Viridian is supposed to be, not the apple green. This is definitely a fail, avoid, do not buy this. That being said, I'm still gonna use it because I think it's a really pretty color. But the apple green is why I bought it, and the apple green used to be such a pretty color too. Also, this one looks very watered down as well. Like these two colors, this is what these Winsor and Newton inks are supposed to look like. They're supposed to be like very, very, very bright and vibrant. Like this is what the colors are supposed to look like right out of the ink pot. These two are not it. All right, next one is emerald green. This one has always been a little more of a bluish green. Like this little logo on here has never been accurate to what the color looks like, but it was still distinctly green. And oh look, it looks just as turquoise as this one over here. Okay, what is this? How come the emerald green looks exactly like the apple green with a hint of yellow pigment? I'm so sad. I'm so sad. Like it's a little more green than this one, but and again, I do shake up all these colors, but I guess that's not enough. Next up, we're going to use the Viridian. I bought it because I wanted the turquoise, but I also kind of bought it because the lizard is really cute. Here you can see the picture of the lizard in like a greenish blue turquoise color. Pretty similar to these two. So I have high hopes that this one is still turquoise as it's supposed to be. But let's see. I mean, it looks very blue to me right now, but it could still be a turquoise. Well, it is a nice blue. Like, this is almost perfectly my favorite shade of blue, but this is not the color that I bought. This is not the color I spent money on. I used this color to color in some Mikos because it was the perfect Miko turquoise, but it is not as good as the apple green. I'm starting to get really worked up about this. I need to calm down a little. It doesn't matter if it's a pretty color. This is not the color that I spent money on. Then last in this row is going to be blue. That's a pretty nice dark blue. It almost matches my nails. This is a really nice blue. And then next, again, I tried to stay in rainbow order, but I think I confused these purples. So this is the more blue purple. This is the more reddish purple. I'm gonna stick to the names I wrote down. So next is the reddish purple front, and that still looks pretty good. Now this is still a very beautiful pinkish purple. And this one and the apple green actually both used to be my favorite of the Winsor & Newton colors. So I'm really glad that this one still looks as good as it's supposed to. Then on to the second purple, the violet. This one also has neon pink splatters on it. Okay, good news. The violet still looks as violet as it should. I am so happy that not all of these colors are messed up. Also, this shade of purple looks almost identical to my scented purple. Next, we're gonna do scarlet. And this is kind of deceptive because this color is gonna make you think this is kind of like a pinkish red. But you might be surprised to find out this is actually an almost neon pink. And yep, it's still looks neon pink. I just turned away for a moment to clean up my brush, and what is that? That should not be happening. I use these pieces of paper as like bleed proof all the time. The only other time I've ever seen it like pick up the ink from the papers was with alcohol markers. Oh, let me try this again. See if that's really what's happening here. So there's definitely some dark brown down here. Give it a moment. So Yeah, that's interesting. What if I don't have the paper under there, but I still do it really wet? Okay, so considering that this spot didn't get any of these weird dots, I'm gonna assume that the pink color actually picked up some of the marker pigment from my bleed papers. Not really a deal breaker for me, but you should probably keep that in mind if you buy this color. We're down to the last row and the most boring one, to be fair. And this one includes my nut brown ink, which turned brown. But now that it's been like a year or something, we can check if my new nut brown ink also turned purple, just like my old one. So here's the old one, indicated by this little dot. There it is again, just to make sure I know this is the one that turned purple. And you can see here that it's not a nut brown color. I can't get it open. Okay, this swatch will have to wait for later. And let's try out my new nut brown ink and see if it's still brown. There it is, nice and new. And it still looks nut brown as it should. So I'm pretty confident. These ink pots are so hard to open. And it looks brown. It looks kind of watery, but it does look not brown. I am glad it has not turned purple yet. Next, I'm actually going to swatch the gold one instead of the black. This is the gold metallic bronze. I got this because I love using metallic colors. The metallic inks need a lot more shaking, and they need frequent shaking, because even while you're drawing, if you take too long, all the little gold palettes or metallic palettes are gonna sink again. Look at this. This is so pretty. It is a little tedious to use just because of the fact that you can kind of see all the little golden metallic pigments in here, which makes it a little harder to get like a smooth, even line. But what I think is really fun about these is that you can dilute them really well. And I love that it basically has like glitter pigments in there. That being said, the easier and cheaper alternative is actually metallic watercolors. I also have a video about these in case you're curious. However, the one benefit that the ink has is that you can technically use it with a dip brush. So like one of these fellas. I would strongly advise you not to do that because I've done that once and it was an absolute hell to try and get it clean again. So here's the box with this really creepy spider dude on it. I'm just gonna assume this is still a perfect black color. I don't know, I wouldn't expect the black ink to turn like neon green or something. The black ink came in the first Winsor & Newton set that I bought, and I'll be honest, this is probably the color that I used the least. I took a break, Nicholas is still not home. I'm gonna try to find some pliers to open this. Okay, I found some pliers. They should be big enough. We got it! The cap took a little bit of damage, but that's okay. Here we go, time to swatch the last color, which is a color that we all already know is gonna look awful. So here is the magical nut brown, which turned purple. Isn't this a beautiful finale for our swatch page? 8 of these colors, the orange, yellow, emerald, blue, violet, scarlet, nut brown, and black. Those 8 came in a set. And this down here, and this pink over here, is what the swatches looked like on the very day I bought these inks. So, as you can see, the orange, accurate. The yellow, also accurate. The blue looks a little darker, but to be fair, I think this one's kind of watered down. The emerald, you can still see a hint of green in this. You cannot convince me these two are the same color. Then the violet looks perfectly fine, and black is black. Also, this pink swatch is really messy, but if you look at the center here, you can tell this is still the same neon pink. Aside from the emerald, I think those 8 colors are fine. Well, for the nut brown, however, as you can see, this is the nut brown on the day I got it, and this is the nut brown today. Obviously, these two are very different colors. I would definitely not suggest you buy this set of colors, just because having 2 out of 8 colors change color is not a good ratio. So instead, if you like any of them, just buy them separately. Then the next thing that I've been looking forward to ranting about the most are my apple green and my viridian turquoise, because here is my Hatsune Miku picture, which I drew the day I got these two inks. Now you might look at this and you're like, oh, but her hair looks exactly like the apple green ink. Except it's not. I colored her hair in with this viridian. And this beautiful green leek color is what used to be the apple green. And now it's not green anymore. Why do these colors do that? Like, yeah, if somebody has a solution, please let me know. But also, if you've experienced anything like this with the same inks, or even with any other brand of art supplies, please let me know. It kind of helps me cope if I know that other people experience this as well. But, yeah, this is it. I really needed to get this out of my system. So here is a little shopping reference sheet, just in case you were considering to buy any of these shades of Winsor & Newton ink. Some of these are great, some of these not so much. But for now, I'm just gonna say bye-bye, and I hope to see you again next week for a video that's hopefully gonna be a little more cheerful and happy and fun and only good times. Goodbye!